So the next phase, or the next stage here we're going to talk about is feedback. So we talked about people already in this room perhaps have something to tell me about how I am, who I am, and how I'm doing. I'd like to know what that is at some point so that I can either ignore it, or I can learn from it, or I can choose to work on it or factor it into whatever I'm doing. I want to have that choice. If I'm a good leader, a new leader, I'm very interested in that, especially among my top team. What we found is that, again, sort of the answer lies within the team. The team can help each other, members of a team can help each other perform at much higher levels, but they've got to learn how to work with each other by listening to each other and engaging with each other. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. So here's a leader. In fact, this person on the right, the reviewee, I like to think that's me. When I was promoted to be a leader of a large group in my first company, one of the founders of the company was my boss, and they're supposed to write my review. And now that I was promoted, I was in charge, I was a vice president and highly responsible and highly regarded. His comment to me was, "You're in the big leagues now, write your own review." I was probably in my rank around 30 years old, and I'm thinking, that can't be right. there's got to be things he knows or somebody knows that I need to know to be better. And the way it usually works, if it works at all, I mean, a lot of people just don't do reviews, is based on whatever my boss recollects, whatever notes he might have made, at some point in the year, it pulls those together, prepares a review, and administers a review. And then now I'm thinking of myself as a reviewer. I was recently the CEO and chairman of a company where I had a COO that I was grooming and training and growing to be a CEO. And I was writing his review, and when I gave him some feedback that he was dissing people that worked for him because whenever they interacted with him, he was on his cell phone, right? He was doing something with his devices. And he was a very smart guy, high-powered Dartmouth MBA, super-powered guy, very highly analytical, could process 2 or 3 things at the same time, at least that's what he thought. And so he said to me, "You just don't understand me and how I work. I'm not dissing anybody. Everybody's fine." Were they really, though? No. And the reality is that this approach, which is quite common, is hard to do. It's hard for the reviewer to sit down and pull together a solid review because they don't have notes, and it's hard to remember a year's worth of performance when it comes time to put it all done. So it's hard, therefore you put it off. Eventually the time comes, and then you do it rushed at the last minute, and it's just not very good. It tends to be arbitrary based on the orientation, ability, perspective of the one preparing the review. It very likely has got only that reviewer's thinking in it. It doesn't include the thinking of others on the team or higher levels of the organization. So it might not represent the best of the team thinking and interests. The very hard stuff gets swept under the rug and not dealt with. It can be demoralizing for the reviewee because the reviewer feels compelled to either have a very long list or a very harsh list and doesn't particularly know how to administer that, and it's received very poorly. And it's also, as we see here, easy to ignore the feedback. And the person doing the review rarely gets evaluated or given any guidance on how to do a better review. No one looks at it. So what's another approach? Well, this is an approach we've used with great success over the past decade, and it's getting some momentum. And what it is same reviewer, same reviewee, but instead of the reviewer writing the review on their own, they collect information from a stakeholder base. And these would be people that the reviewer and the reviewee agree have a stake in the reviewee's performance, have witnessed, seen, have an idea about what needs to be communicated, and know the person. And we collect information on basically 4 things. What is this person good at? What have they contributed? What have they done that's great? How have they grown over the past period, and what should they concentrate on getting better at next? How hard is it to fill that out for any person that you happen to know? It turns out it's very easy. I could give you a piece of paper and ask you to fill that out on somebody you work with. It's not hard to do. The stakes are low. You just fill it out. If everybody does that, put it in the middle and give it to the reviewer, who also has filled it out. And by the way, the reviewee also filled it out. And the reviewer takes all of that, consolidates it, and prioritizes it, and gets a sense for what's most important to communicate, streamlines it, and then prepares a consolidated review to the reviewee. Now, if at that point we were to administer this review, we'd be better off than we were before, but we don't. What's one more thing that we can do that would make it even better? Huge step up is if we take that review and peer review it. So we take the consolidated review and show it to the people at the top of the organization and say, is this really the right message to send to this person? Of all the things said here, here's what's come to the top. What's most important to communicate? We don't want to do every last little thing. We want to take the most important things and communicate those powerfully. And we administer, we tweak it, and the reviewee takes the benefit of that collective thinking, finalizes the review, and then administers it to the reviewee. What's the advantages of this approach? First of all, it's really easy to do. It's actually quick, easy. It ends up being edifying because if you think about it, when a person is hearing a group of people say, here's what you're good at, here's what you've contributed, here's how you've grown, that's all good, good, good. And they're saying, wow, these people really know me, they really get me. And of course, the reviewer has the benefit of taking all that stakeholder input and comparing it with what the reviewee said about themselves and saying, does this person think things about themselves that are out of sync with the masses? So for example, if they think they're good at things that nobody else noticed, or they don't think they're good at something, or don't even mention something that everybody else thinks they're good at, that's an interesting process to work on with somebody. Everyone on board with the agenda, which means the CFO, the CTO, the CEO have reviewed this, right, and said, yes, this is the right message to communicate to the COO. They all know what's being communicated. And the COO knows they know. And so not only is the person being advised that they should focus on something, but if they agree that that's something they should work on, they now have support from the rest of the team to help them do that. So you essentially get permission. You say, I see that I'm dissing people by disempowering them, by using my BlackBerry while I'm talking to them. I'm going to stop doing that. Will you help me do that? Will you tell me when I'm doing that? Yes, we know how important it is for you to do that. We've all agreed that that's a real problem for you, and you need to stop doing that, and we'll help you do that. And then everybody's working on helping everybody get better at whatever is most important for them to get better at. Just think of how constructive a world that would be when you have a top team working like that. And it's incredible to experience. The hard stuff does get out and get dealt with. It allows you to, taps into and allows the leader to impact the thinking of reviewers. So in other words, the people at the top of the house are part of this process, and they're seeing what people are inputting, and they're seeing what the reviewers are coming up with, and they're seeing each other's, which means they can give feedback and say, you really seem to be coming at this wrong, or you're missing an important way of articulating this, and they can see that needs to be addressed and push it up. So you have a lot going on here. The whole process is developmental, not just for the reviewee, but for the reviewer.